Paris once screamed for Jungkook, but now it bows to Jimin. Paris, the city once consumed by uncontrollable hysteria when Jungkook stepped into its streets for Calvin Klein, has now witnessed a shift so dramatic that it leaves fans, critics, and observers asking a single haunting question. Has the crown quietly moved from Jungkook to Jimin? The contrast is undeniable. Months ago, the French capital roared with deafening screams as Jungkook's mere appearance drew chaos and frenzy. Yet now, with Jimin's entrance into Dior's stage, Paris has bowed in silence, not in fear but in reverence. Is this the moment when the hierarchy within fashion and fame has silently changed? Or is this yet another battle of narratives, shaped as much by perception as by reality? The frenzy of Jungkook's Calvin Klein campaign was something few could forget. Crowds lined the streets, traffic was halted, and Paris itself seemed to lose control under the weight of Jungkook's presence. The imagery of him towering over Calvin Klein billboards turned the city into his kingdom, if only for a fleeting moment. But what happens when chaos fades, when noise dies down, and when the spectacle of hysteria no longer shocks? That very question now looms as Jimin's Dior moment unfolded. Unlike Jungkook's storm, Jimin's presence at Dior's runway was not met with violent screams, but rather with an elegance that dismantled the spectacle of noise and replaced it with dominance, grace, and ultimate control. This contrast is what fuels the conversation. Did Paris simply shift its loyalty? Or was this a reflection of two very different energies colliding on the same global stage? Jungkook brought disruption, a storm that made headlines, a raw and almost anarchic celebration of his star power. Jimin, however, brought Dior to its knees with quiet authority, an image not of chaos, but of balance and unshakable presence. Which holds more power in the long term, hysteria or reverence, chaos or control? Fans now find themselves split in their reflections. Some argue that Jungkook's ability to turn Paris into an uncontrollable riot shows the pure, unmatched intensity of his influence. Others insist that Jimin's domination of Dior represents a more lasting institutional power, one that rewrites the rules of celebrity influence within the highest echelons of fashion. Is this truly a rivalry, or simply two faces of the same coin, displayed in different seasons under different lights? The questions refuse to go away. Adding to the tension is the fact that both events unfolded in the same city, in front of the same global media lens. Paris, the backdrop of both hysteria and elegance, became the silent witness to a shift in narrative. The city once screamed for Jungkook. Now it bows for Jimin. But is the bowing more powerful than the screaming? Is reverence more commanding than chaos? Or is Paris itself merely a mirror reflecting what fans want to see in their idols? The discourse intensifies online. On TikTok, videos comparing Jungkook's Calvin Klein storm with Jimin's Dior elegance rack up millions of views, sparking endless debate. On Twitter, hashtags trend not just for admiration, but for competition, with fans dissecting every frame, every angle, every reaction from the fashion world. YouTube channels break down the symbolism, asking if Dior's spotlight was carefully designed to cement Jimin as the fashion king of Paris, while Jungkook's Calvin Klein impact was destined to be remembered as a fleeting wave of hysteria. Which narrative is true and which is manipulated by the hunger for clicks and headlines? This leads to a deeper reflection. What do we, as observers, truly believe? Do we believe Paris has genuinely shifted its allegiance? Or are we victims of media machinery that thrives on creating rivalries and battles that may never truly exist? Is the notion of Jimin bowing Dior while Jungkook shook Paris a fact? Or is it a carefully crafted illusion to fuel endless discourse among fans? In a digital world where perception can be engineered, where every article, clip, or post can bend reality, how do we distinguish between truth and sensationalism? There is also the personal dimension. Jungkook's Paris moment was wild, uncontrolled, loud, and overwhelming. Yet that chaos was his power. Jimin's Dior moment, by contrast, was controlled, deliberate, polished, and regal. Perhaps Paris did not change its allegiance. Perhaps it simply recognized that these two icons represent different sides of the same storm. Jungkook is the thunder, Jimin is the lightning. One shakes the ground, the other blinds the eyes. And Paris, in its own way, has been captivated by both. But why does the narrative demand a winner? Why must one overshadow the other when both moments, in their raw and polished forms, etch themselves into the fabric of cultural memory? As readers, we must ask ourselves, are we witnessing reality, Or are we trapped inside a performance crafted by fashion houses, media platforms, and the insatiable hunger of fandom culture? Is Dior's stage truly Jimin's kingdom? Or is it merely another battlefield in an endless war of headlines designed to provoke emotional responses? Is Jungkook's storm already forgotten? Or does it still echo in the silence of Parisian streets? The answers may not be clear, but the questions themselves hold power. Paris once screamed for Jungkook, but now it bows to Jimin. And yet, perhaps the real story lies not in who Paris chose, but in how we choose to interpret it. Are we blindly consuming narratives fed to us? Or are we capable of looking beyond the noise, beyond the silence, to recognize that both chaos and reverence are equally powerful forms of dominance? Until we reflect critically, we may never truly know whether Paris's shifting allegiance was reality, or just another carefully designed illusion in the theater of fame. Paris once screamed for Jungkook, but now it bows to Jimin, the illusion or the truth? The narrative of Paris shifting from hysterical screams for Jungkook to reverent silence before Jimin has spread like wildfire across platforms. Yet as this storyline grows louder, one question must be asked with complete seriousness. Is this a reality we are witnessing, or is it merely a construct designed to capture our emotions and monetize our reactions? The starkness of this alleged transition, Jungkook's chaos now seemingly overshadowed by Jimin's Dior reign, demands scrutiny, not blind acceptance. Do we truly believe the fashion capital of the world can shift its loyalty overnight, or are we falling into a carefully orchestrated spectacle? The circulation of images and clips from TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter has fueled this discourse, but how reliable are these fragments of digital evidence? A video edited for virality can emphasize one moment while erasing another. A still image can be cropped to magnify reverence or chaos, depending on the angle. When fans declare that Paris screamed for Jungkook and bowed to Jimin, do they base this conviction on objective observation, or are they consuming narratives designed for sensation? How many of these so-called proofs are authentic, and how many are amplified illusions that exploit fan emotion? The core dilemma lies in perception versus fact. Jungkook's Calvin Klein moment undeniably created frenzy, yet was the chaos as uncontrollable as portrayed, or was it amplified through selective reporting? Jimin's Dior appearance exuded elegance and dominance, but was the city truly bowing? Or were headlines pushing us to believe so? Is the comparison between these two events organic? Or is it engineered to ignite division and endless discussion? These questions, however uncomfortable, must be asked if we are to approach truth with seriousness. What we must reflect upon is the role of media in shaping belief. Sensational headlines feed on conflict, rivalry, and exaggerated contrasts. Paris screamed for Jungkook, but now it bows to Jimin. Such a phrase captures attention, but does it inform, or does it manipulate? Can we consider it factual reporting? Or is it closer to an orchestrated script designed to keep both names at the center of public discourse? If the truth is distorted for the sake of engagement, are we not complicit when we consume without skepticism? The responsibility now falls on us as observers. Are we allowing ourselves to be guided by surface-level impressions, or are we engaging in deeper reflection? When TikTok edits show screaming crowds for Jungkook and hushed reverence for Jimin, are these moments contextualized, or are they stripped of nuance to present a narrative of competition? When Twitter threads amplify debates about dominance, are they reflecting reality, or are they exploiting division for visibility? Is YouTube analysis shedding light on facts, or fueling sensationalism with speculation? Consider this. If Paris screamed for Jungkook, was that scream for him alone? Or was it part of the larger frenzy created by the global machinery of celebrity culture? If Paris bowed to Jimin, did Dior's influence and curation create that image of reverence rather than spontaneous public reaction? If the same city can be portrayed as both hysterical and reverent within a short span of time, is it Paris that changed, or the lens through which we are being forced to view Paris? The question grows even sharper. Is this rivalry between Jungkook and Jimin even real? Or is it a shadow we are chasing, projected by media outlets eager for clicks? Does Dior's spotlight on Jimin erase Jungkook's Calvin Klein impact? Or do both coexist as separate expressions of influence? Is there truly a hierarchy being established? Or is it only our collective hunger for competition that transforms two distinct moments into a battlefield? If Jungkook embodies chaos and Jimin represents control, why must we choose between them? Or is the very act of choosing part of the illusion that drives media engagement? We must also confront the possibility of hoax. In an era where digital fabrication is rampant, can we fully trust the evidence presented? A cheering crowd can be reused footage, a bowing audience can be staged, a headline can be written to provoke rather than to inform. If some of these narratives are hoaxes, carefully packaged to intensify fan rivalry, then what does that say about our willingness to be deceived? Are we victims of manipulation, or are we participants who willingly surrender our judgment for the thrill of sensationalism? The gravity of this debate is not merely about Jungkook and Jimin. It is about how we consume, how we interpret, and how we believe. If we accept without questioning, we risk being trapped in a cycle of emotional reaction with no grounding in truth. If we reflect critically, however, we may uncover that Paris did not change allegiance at all. Paris did not scream only for Jungkook nor bow only for Jimin. Paris witnessed two events, both powerful in their own ways, and media simply chose to pit them against each other. But are we ready to accept that less sensational explanation, or are we addicted to the drama of rivalry? This is the challenge I pose to you, the reader. What do you believe? Do you genuinely think Paris abandoned Jungkook's storm in favor of Jimin's Dior Rain? Or do you recognize the fingerprints of media sensationalism shaping this perception? Do you see these narratives as truth, or as illusions meant to provoke debate? And most importantly, will you allow yourself to continue consuming without reflection, or will you commit to questioning, analyzing, and verifying before forming belief? In the end, the truth may not lie in choosing between Jungkook and Jimin. The truth may lie in recognizing that the narrative itself is constructed, that both chaos and reverence are performances magnified by media lenses, and that our responsibility is not to decide who Paris belongs to, but to decide whether we will continue to be deceived by surface-level impressions. Paris once screamed, Paris now bows, but perhaps Paris itself never changed. Perhaps it is only our perception, shaped by endless streams of content, that has been manipulated. And perhaps the real power lies not in who rules Paris, but in who controls the narrative of Paris.